What's up, BookTube? Sandy Golson back here with the August 2020 wrap-up. I should say my very pitiful August 2020 wrap-up, as I had a rather poor month of reading. Now, some of it, of course, as you know, if you've been watching my other videos and you're subscribed to the channel, so hopefully you'll hit that subscribe button and also the like button for the video. But if you're subscribed to the channel and you've been following me for a little while, you know that recently or earlier the month of August, I had a pretty serious emergency surgery, and so that kind of put me on the shelf for a couple of weeks, and really just kind of disrupted my reading momentum. And so I kind of got knocked off stride a little bit, and I've been trying to get back on stride with my reading, but unfortunately, it ended up being a pretty poor month of reading for me. I only finished actually 3 books in the month of August, and so I'm going to look to hopefully get back on track here. I'm going to try to find some books that I'm really excited about so I can get some momentum back going for my reading and really try to have a outstanding month of September, and you'll see a little bit more about that soon when I do my September TBR. So first of the books that I did end up reading in the month of August of 2020 is The Night Swim by Megan Golden. And actually, this is a book that I really liked. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and it was really, I think it was kind of billed a little bit more as of a thriller, although I didn't quite see it thriller as much as maybe some other people did, but it was really a good story. It does have a lot of legal stuff in it, a lot of courtroom scenes in it, and it's also told from different perspectives, and so you kind of got dueling storylines that are going on there that are kind of interesting to keep up, but they do kind of merge together at the end, and a little bit of a surprise, a little bit of a twist at the end in terms of wrapping the story up. But it really is a really cool story. I really enjoyed it. I thought the characters were very good. And, you know, it deals with a very difficult topic, the topic of rape, but it also deals with the topics of privilege as it relates to rape, and also justice, and maybe small town justice, especially when you have a alleged perpetrator that is seen as a hero, an athlete hero, and that makes the dynamics really different. And so you can kind of maybe see where that's going with maybe some of the high profile cases that have been happening around the country. And so that kind of comes to life here as almost a ripped from the headlines type of a book. So I really enjoyed it. It was a good, fast read. I was able to just kind of work my way through it really quick. I think the characters kind of come to life, and you really kind of get interested in it. The main character is a investigative journalist who does a podcast, and she's seen as kind of the person that people call in, and she's able to get to the bottom of mysteries and solve crimes, and she's not always loved by the police and the prosecutors, but she gets the job done nevertheless, and she ends up being a compelling character throughout this story. So The Night Swim by Megan Golden, I gave it 4 stars. Really enjoyable read. It was actually a Book of the Month read as well, so I made a really good pick for Book of the Month. Sometimes I've maybe not necessarily picked the best book as my feature selection, but in this one, struck gold. Night Swim, The Night Swim by Megan Golden. Next up, I went nonfiction, and I went back to a rapper that I remember listening to quite a bit, even though I probably shouldn't at the age that I was in my mid-teens. And I used to listen to the group The 2 Live Crew, which had very explicit lyrics, and we probably weren't supposed to listen to them, but we did. And so anyway, with that as the backdrop, I decided to pick up this autobiography from Luther Campbell, who was the leader of the group, and I kind of brought them all together. And it's called The Book of Luke, My Fight for Truth, Justice, and Liberty City. And, when I saw this book, and for some reason it just popped up, the algorithm found me, and it just popped up in front of me, and I just thought, you know what, this is a book that I really, really, really want to read. And so I went ahead and purchased it because there were a few parts that I was really interested in reading. The 2 Live Crew was just, from a cultural standpoint, it was like something that you had to kind of buy out of somebody's trunk, because you couldn't really go into the stores and get Two Live Crew music. And so we used to get it and kind of quietly listen to it and kind of snicker and listening to it behind our parents' back. And, it ended up being one of those things where if you ask me, I still know some of those lyrics today, now even like 30 years later. And so it tells you the kind of impact that some of that music had. But it also, that music really had a powerful cultural impact because a lot of people weren't feeling the Two Live Crew. They weren't feeling Luther Campbell and some of the things that he was doing with his music back in the day. And so because of that, I think it became something that was even bigger than music because people were so, many people were just appalled, especially like a lot of conservative people just did not like the music. And in the 90s, in the early 90s, late 80s and early 90s, people were talking about family values, and that was a really big thing. And so a lot of that energy was kind of focused on really stopping explicit lyrics rap music. And one of the targets was the Two Live Crew. And so I was really interested in how they saw it, how it came about from their perspective as all this was going on. But I was also interested in the backstory of how the group came together and how Luke got started and how he started to work his way up in the music business, even though he didn't have a lot of experience, and he was still able to make it happen. And so it was really kind of an inspiring story, very interesting story that I was very excited to read. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. As just a book that I really wanted to read. It was very well written. I thought it was well written. It was very thorough, and I was really surprised because a lot of times these books are like not particularly thorough and not necessarily with a lot of contextual information, but this really had that. So I was really excited about that, to really kind of read and learn some things that I didn't know before about not only Luther Campbell, but also the Two Live Crew. So I liked it, and definitely glad that I picked that one up. And lastly, for the month of August, I read The Graduate by Charles Webb. And this is a classic story, and many people probably more so remember the movie starring Dustin Hoffman from, I want to say, the late 60s, that is kind of a classic movie as well. And it's just a really interesting movie that I kind of stumbled across once upon a time, and I watched it. It had a very seductive thumbnail. And so I found it really interesting. It's about a young man, I believe just graduated from college, and he ends up getting into an affair with the wife of a couple that are friends with his parents. And so it starts this kind of weird sort of love triangle, and of course increases the tension between the two families. And it's a really interesting story, and I just, having seen the movie, I was really interested in reading the book. And so I really enjoyed reading the book. It was a rather fast read. There were some things I was able to skim through because it was pretty true to the movie. So I really felt like there were some things that I could kind of skim through, and I could kind of focus a little bit more on some of the parts where I wanted to maybe find out if there was more information. And so I really enjoyed that. Glad I was able to pick that up. I did end up giving it 4 stars. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the movie as well. So it was really fun to have an opportunity to actually watch the movie first and then read the book, because usually people like to read the book first and then watch the movie with the feeling that if the movie is a letdown, then it might not necessarily discourage them from wanting to read the book. So if you read the book and then the movie's a letdown, well, people tend to expect that. Whereas if you watch the movie first and you're let down, then you might not necessarily want to read the book. But there's a couple times where I've actually watched the movie first, then read the book, and in both cases, the movies were good. So in this case, of course, it's The Graduate that we're talking about. In the other case, it was the documentary Hoop Dreams, about the 2 young kids, black kids from Chicago, that come up through middle school, high school, and end up vying for careers in college, and then eventually trying to take their shot at the NBA. And so I watched Hoop Dreams many, many times, and then I discovered that there was a book that went with it. And so the movie, the documentary itself, is actually brilliant. Well done, extremely well done. It's long, don't get me wrong, but it's very well done. And then I read the book, and I'm like, the book was really good. Movie was very good, but the book really added some layers of context to some things that I had some questions about, and it really answered those questions. And so that marriage went really well between movie and book. And I think I didn't necessarily learn quite so much new in this situation with the movie versus the book, but it was still an enjoyable experience for me. So there you have it. That's my reading for the month of August. Pretty pitiful in some ways, but at the same time, it is what it is. And hopefully I'll have a much better month of September as far as my reading. The good news is that I'm well on track for accomplishing my Goodreads goal of 50 books for the year. I am at 46 right now, and still with September, October, November, December to go. So in really good shape. So if I have pitiful months to close out 2020. If I can at least stay at this pace, I'll be in good shape to still break the Goodreads goal for the year. But hopefully I'll break the Goodreads goal here by the end of September. So that's it for me. Please hit the subscribe button if you have not. If you like the video, please consider hitting the like button down below, and stay with me on this journey. More BookTube and AuthorTube videos to come.